Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Ask Leah. You might have just tuned in and thought, what the hell is this whopping great red microphone in front of Leah tonight? Don't worry, I'm not leaving it there the whole time. I just wanted to start off by showing you what I have been doing the last 4 or 5 nights. So this microphone is set up and has been my companion the last 4 or 5 nights. I have been recording the audio book of Soft is the New Hard, my book which is due out in March. It's coming out in audiobook, ebook and paperback, which is very exciting. But recording the audiobook has presented some challenges for me over the last 5 nights. Because I live, as most of you know, in the gorgeous little town of Willow Grove, which is stunning. However, being a rural town, through the day, there's birds chirping, all these beautiful sounds, which are not conducive to the quiet needed to record an audiobook. I also have 3 very boisterous little boys who are at school during the weekdays, but obviously not on weekends. So I've been recording the audiobook through till the early hours of the morning for the last 4 or 5 nights. Hence why I have enormous bags under my eyes. I haven't bothered with makeup for you tonight. You just get me authentically me with no cover. And that's okay because I'm bloody tired. Let's face it. Now, the questions that have come through tonight, one of them actually ties into the work I've been doing with the audiobook. So I wanted to give you a bit of background on that. So like I said, I've been working for hours every night through till the early hours of the morning. I've also battled possums growling, dogs barking, wind chimes in the crazy storm we had a few nights ago. So it has been a challenge. But I got the thing done at 2:30 this morning. I wrapped up recording the audiobook. Now, the other reason that was a challenge is because the energy I need to bring to an audiobook recording is really high. Now, although it's 2:30 in the morning when I was recording it, I can't let you, the listeners, know that it's 2:30. You don't want to listen to an audiobook about how to improve your communication. That's, an empowering book. You don't want to listen to me going, oh, it's really good, soft as the new hard. I don't want to put you all to sleep as well. So I had to be, like I am now, high energy right through until those early hours. And a few people have asked me how I did that. How did I maintain the energy that I did? How did I manage to get that really big task knocked over in quite a short period of time at such crazy times of the day? So I want to give you some of the tools that I use when I do need to meet a big deadline. And the first thing I want to say, hello to those who have just joined. The first thing I want to say is I am definitely not Superwoman by any stretch of the imagination at all. The best money I spend every week is on a house cleaner, and I know not everyone has the option of doing that. For me, I can either be working in my business at home and earning money, or I can be cleaning my house half of the time. And for me, the choice, and my husband, the choice that we make is to pay a house cleaner, because that then frees up some of my time. So please, those of you watching, I don't do it all. That's the simple reality. Some balls have to drop. I, have to let go of some things that I would love to do, because there's some really big goals that I want to meet. And goals is one of the things that I use to help achieve the outcomes that I want. I really recommend, if there's some things that you are thinking about wanting to achieve in your life or with your work, you need to get really clear on what you actually want. For starters, I knew I wanted to do this audio book. It's the only way my husband will listen to my book, although now that he knows I've read it and he could actually hear me in the early hours of the morning as I was recording it, he has told me that he thinks he's heard the whole thing now and doesn't need to listen. anyway. But get really clear on why you're doing it. So I knew I'm doing it because I want to reach a big audience. I had a deadline to do it. It's very important to me. The only time I could do it in a quiet space from home is in the early hours of the morning. I couldn't do it through the day somewhere else because I had other work commitments. So that was the reality to me. So I looked at it. I looked at how much I had to record, and I went, right, I need to at least be doing 2 to 3 to 4 hours a night. I actually set it on the number of pages that I had to read out loud. So then I'm really working back from what was a big, overwhelming task, and I'm chunking it down. Now, did I have to compromise sleep the last few nights? Yes, I did. Is that smart? Hell no. Am I tired now? You betcha. But I'm not doing that forever. Okay, so it was a short thing. I knew I had to have a high energy when I was presenting, so I just did it. It's my job. Okay. If I didn't think I could do that in those hours, then I wouldn't have done it there. So I suppose the message to those people who have asked, how did I get it done? The answer is this: I get really clear on what I want, okay? Really clear on what I want, and then I ask myself why. Why is it important to me? Once I get my what and my why, I set myself a goal around it. And those who have done goal setting workshops with me before know that I follow that SMART goal structure, where it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Okay, so I set a deadline for myself. I work really well to deadlines. I was a journalist at the start of my career, so I set myself deadlines all the time. They might be imaginary, but I will always meet a deadline. So if you ever need something from me, don't just say when you can get to it. Tell me when the deadline is, and I will always meet it. Once you have your goal, you need to break it down again. And this is a mistake a lot of people make. They set their goal and it's still big and overwhelming. It might be that by the end of the week, I want to have recorded this audiobook. And if I just said that, if that was my goal, it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, all those things. But if I just said that, I could still very well fail, because I might just sit back for 4 nights and go, oh yeah, I've got the week to do it. I'll get to it, procrastinate, and then go, oh my God, I've got to record the whole thing in one night, which would be ridiculous because it's over 8 hours of recording. And more when you add in the blooper reel, and oh my goodness, the blooper reel. If Dave, my fabulous producer, captures the bloopers on the audio, it will be something to behold, and probably a good lesson in how not to communicate. So you've got to break it down into a plan. Okay, how are you going to achieve it? My plan was, once the kids were in bed, once the dogs had stopped barking, I was going to record the audiobook, and I was going to record 50 pages each night. Okay, I was going to read them out loud. So that became my plan. So then I wasn't thinking about it. I was just doing it. I took action. How do I fit it in? I also posted today about finishing one of the best books I've read in a while, and I've read some crackers lately, The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and it's brilliant. And someone said, how do you fit that in? I don't watch TV. I have nothing against TV. I quite like TV, but I don't watch it. And the reason I don't watch it is because I prioritize the other things as higher. Again, personal choice. I'm not telling anyone else to do it. That's just what I do for me now. And if I want to relax, I read a few pages of my book. Okay. So if there's something out there that you want to do, start big and keep cutting it down until it's a really small step that you can take every day. That's my advice on there. Second question is a communication question, and it came through this afternoon. And it's a really relevant one, actually, in the workplace and personal lives. And it's, how do you find middle ground with someone who seems totally poles apart from you? And there's a few different ways to approach this, so there's not a one size fits all. So I'm going to approach it initially with as if it's a colleague at work, or maybe you're a leader and it's someone in your team. You might be trying to motivate them. You might be, the example I use in my book is I worked with a leader who was trying to motivate someone in her team. And, she was trying really, really hard. I think I might have shared this story before. She was trying really hard to motivate him because she valued a high-performing team, and he was always late to meetings. And, she was trying to explain to him, come on, we want to be a high-performing, excellent team. And this guy just disengaged. He was totally different to her. Wasn't motivated by the same thing, didn't care. He was nearing retirement, couldn't have given two stuffs about excellence in the workplace. And what she had to realize was when we are trying to relate with someone who is very different to us, we have to park what motivates us and try to find what the other person values. Okay, where are they coming from? And it's not about having to agree with them. It's just trying to use their own motivations and values to help get the outcome you want. So with that leader that I was working with, she realized that relationships were the key motivation for that guy. He, the reason he was late to meetings was because he was chatting to all his mates on the shop floor all the time. And so when she realized that was his motivation, relationships, and, what other people thought of him and all of those sort of things, she realized that going about the conversation from a we must be a high-performing team approach was never going to work because he didn't care. But shifting that conversation to be, hey, when you're late for meetings, I know it's probably not your intention, but the perception from others in the room, including me, is that you don't respect us or our time. Now, when she did that, when she had the conversation from the people focus, he was horrified because relationships were his thing. And he said, no, that's not what I'm trying to do at all. I just got caught up speaking to someone else. And this leader was able to say to him, yeah, I appreciate that. But by doing that, you're actually showing disrespect for all of these people in the room, and then they're not feeling valued by you at all. And when he could see it from that point of view, suddenly he understood why being late to meetings was an issue. So she got the same result in that finally he woke up to this and did something about it, but she did not approach it the way she would maybe a younger person who really was trying to impress people. She did it from something that motivated him. So that's a workplace example. Let's think about colleagues or maybe even those people on social media that we really disagree with. And look, those of you who know me quite well know I've got really strong opinions on things. Always have, always will. And I am very happy to assertively debate any issue, even something I very much disagree with someone on. I will always do that. I'll never shy away from one of those conversations. But that's probably the key thing to understand. I come at it as a conversation. Sometimes I'll be very assertive and, there's certain topics that I am really strong on. But what I try to do when I'm engaging with someone else who has a very different opinion to me is come at it with curiosity. Curiosity is an underutilized skill. Why do they think that way? I don't have to agree with them. I still might think that, that's an insane point of view, or not insane, but I might not have any way to understand how they can think that way. But that actually makes me even more curious because it's so different to me. Rather than just shut it down, like, what's happened for you to, think this way? Where are you coming from? So I find that curiosity can be really helpful in taking things down a notch. You also need to know what your line in the sand is. It's very hard to stand up if you don't know what you stand for. So I'm super clear on what I will and won't put up with and what I will call out. I will always call out sexism, racism, discrimination. I will do it with my friends. I will do it in I won't get on, this patronizing manner, but I will call it out. I won't make a big deal out of it. And my friends know this. I've, done it with a lot of them over the years. And it's not me about me being righteous or anything like that. It has nothing to do with whether they agree with me or not. When I call something out, it's about me doing what I need to do to be true to my values and to live authentically. So that's actually about me, not them. Okay. Agree to disagree. Okay, I use that phrase a lot of the time when you just get, in loggerheads with someone and it's not going anywhere, and maybe they're getting really aggressive or you're feeling yourself getting emotional. Agree to disagree and move on. You still might call it out because there's some things that you won't let go, but you can still call it out and then agree to disagree. And in some cases, it is best not to engage at all. Sometimes the courageous decision is going, nah, I'm not getting sucked into that, because while some people may genuinely have their opinions that might be very different to yours, understand, particularly in these days of online trolls, there are people out there who will post very controversial comments just to get a reaction. Okay, there was that case recently where there was a dentist who was accused of being an online troll, and you just think, my goodness, he's someone in a good profession and they're setting up fake accounts so they can write horrible things about people. It doesn't make sense to me anyway, but people do it. So one of the best responses to that is to not feed it, not give it oxygen, okay? With social media, if there's people that you really disagree with and you are getting quite worked up about the things they're posting, you might engage. And I've got friends on social media that I have very different opinions to, very different politics to, and that's fine. I don't want everyone to be a cookie cutter of me in terms of what they believe, because you need to be challenged. You need to question your own beliefs all the time. That's how we evolve and grow as humans. We need to be open to other points of view. It doesn't mean we have to change ours, but we should consider them. However, sometimes there's people who, it might be poles apart, it might be very offensive to you. You then need to question whether you keep them as a friend on social media. Maybe you defriend them on social media. You don't even have to go to that extreme though if you don't want to. Most platforms, including Facebook, you can hide people's posts. So you can do all of those things as well. So there's lots of options. No one size fits all. So again, look at things from their perspective. So that's the empathy hat. Try to find their motivation and what their value is if you're trying to influence someone's behavior. Get really curious about where they're coming from. Know who you are and what you stand for, so you know when to stand up. Okay? Agree to disagree and move on. And finally, really ask yourself whether you should engage or not. That said, some of the disagreements that you might have with someone, those really robust conversations, can be really enlightening and hugely beneficial. Not always. You ideally need two assertive people who can be respectful, but they can be a great thing. So that is my response to that one tonight. I am going to shoot through now because I am going to try to get a decent night's sleep tonight. I also need to have my own little celebration. I think I need to do that when I've actually had some sleep. The audiobook is recorded. It's with the producer now. The paperback is with the final changes with the designer. It'll be going off to the publisher next week. Those of you who get my newsletter would have seen I got some quite amazing testimonials from some really influential people, including Rachel Robertson, the Australian Antarctic expedition leader and author of Leading on the Edge. So it's been a big week. It's been a great week. And I suppose my parting message to you all tonight is, if there are things you want to do out there, if there are goals you want to achieve, do them. Embrace the Nike slogan. I was reading an article tonight about the marathon mindset and, how it's a marathon is 95% mental and 5% the physical. And it's really that with a lot of things. If there are things you want to do, set yourself up for success, create a plan, a goal, and then do the work. Cheers, everyone. Have a great night. Have a drink for me to celebrate, and I'll talk to you all next week.